What's going on, everybody? It's your man, Hunter Grand, your personal agent for change, making life easy, Barzini.
And I'm Fempreneur Extraordinaire and Tech Diva all day, Dre Renee.
And this is the Crossroads, where there's only one rule.
Be free to be you.
What it is. Look,
It's another day.
it's another day. I'm trying to get myself together on today. it's it was a long work day, but I blame you for my current state.
I'll take it.
I
I'll
blame
take
you for making me watch what I watched.
it. Yeah.
So
I get it. I get it. Actually, before we even get started, look, it's a trigger warning for this episode. So if you have, and I'm not even trying to be funny, if
mhm.
you have, issues around abandonment or loss or, you know, don't have good relationship with your parents or maybe even your children, this episode before we wrap might be a little triggering. So I'll make sure to throw up the trigger warning again before we talk about it, just to
Mhm.
give you an opportunity if you need it. We
Yeah.
care. I
We
didn't give him a trigger warning. I just sent him in.
I I didn't have the benefit of whether it was a trigger or not. I had, we do this for you. I dove in for y'all, you know. So but it definitely wasn't the experience that I thought it was going to be. So we're gonna save that until we get to that segment.
Right.
Um But actually, let's we usually do our check-ins early, but what I want to do is I want to get our sponsors in early. I don't want to say out the way. I want to get it in early.
Mm-hmm.
So we can get into what happened this week and then our big topic for this show. So, y'all, as always, the Crossroads podcast is brought to you by the House of 334.
It's the house.
For all your business branding and copyright needs, go to houseof334.com. It is black owned, it is woman owned, it is black woman owned, and it is amazing. And make sure you move quick because the house will fill up fast. The Crossroads podcast is also brought to you by The Crossroads. You can go to our bit.ly, that's bit.ly/The Crossroads, THEXROSSROADZ. Make sure you follow everything that we're doing, especially subscribing to this channel that you're watching right now. Make sure you scroll down, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification button so you will be alerted every time we go live, every time we post new episodes, and everything that we do. And for those who want to continue to donate to the show, y'all, we appreciate everybody who gives to the show. This is a labor of love, but love ain't free. If you think it is, go tell your landlord that you love them. I really want to see those responses when people do that, y'all.
Right.
But we want to keep this thing going and keep paying the bills, and you help us do that. Week in and week out. We appreciate all our roadies and road dogs for that.
Absolutely.
So this week in on Al Gore's internet, or is it Beyonce's internet? Did he hand it over to Beyonce yet?
Nah.
Okay, because she seemed to be
Oh,
dominating my timeline.
oh yeah. Again?
Still, every time I'm looking, I'm going to her show Sunday. I'm like, when is this tour over?
Right. I don't know why I thought it ended in LA.
All
I thought
right.
it ended on her birthday. I was
I,
wrong.
yeah, I
Hey,
don't
Ashley.
know. But like, and I love B. I'm not talking negatively. I just want my timeline back. That's all I'm
Yeah,
saying.
I
I don't want
understand.
I don't want the hive converging or witnessing the storm,
I
and
definitely
everything
understand
else.
that.
But
Right.
so
It's a question. We have a question. Not that we are demanding that she leaves. We just want to know when she's
yeah,
coming.
yeah, we just wanted to know that what is the schedule? What is the remaining schedule? That's
What's
how I
the
say
schedule? I like it. I like it. Say hello if you're in. We would love to know who's on with us this evening, and we'll give you a little shout out.
that. She said, look, hey, be careful with that sheesh.
Oh, it's
See,
almost over. Okay. Yeah, we
yeah,
didn't know. We didn't know.
you know the hive get twitchy. You know what I'm saying? So what's happening in the world this week? So number one, first things first. We want to one of the best shows that's come out in a while. Maybe I mean I don't know if it's a LA thing,
Oh
right?
yeah.
But
Mm-hmm.
Winning Time.
Popular. R.I.P.
The story of the Lakers dynasty is coming to an end, and as I understand it, it has a lot to do with the writer's strike, um, and the actor strike and everything that's going on as well. So we are seeing the effects of that. Excuse me. Um, so they are canceling that, and I heard a couple of other shows um are also being canceled as well. What's going on, roadies and road dogs?
Love to see
So
you guys.
Callie Bell, Rob, and Jasmine actually they rolling it.
Yeah. So y'all, our streaming provider is tripping today. So if you see me hit a mannequin pose, I'll be back. I'm not
Right,
gone.
right.
But just just let you know. And we might, because we've had this conversation before, like the time of day that we go on, we might have to slide into a later spot because this is just a very popular time. But
Mhm.
we care about you guys. We want you to have a great experience. And this is something we were beating ourselves up about until we found out it
What it
wasn't
was.
our fault.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we
So
called the
just to let
whiz.
you know, we
We
did.
called
We did. We
to
did.
get what was going on. But yeah, they canceling
Absolutely.
my show Winning Time.
Yeah. And hashtag Boo told me to, so he's not a fan, but he wanted me to know, like, you might want to watch your show because, at first they were saying like the ratings weren't good because, and I'm sure, people are trying to like stock up on
Mhm.
their shows because there are no new shows. And so it's like,
Right.
let's try to, and that's what I was doing, like, oh, let them come out with a couple episodes and then I would binge it. And so
Mhm.
by the time I sat down this weekend and I put on my post, like, oh, let me go ahead and watch this before they cancel it, that's the day we got the
Right.
notice. So
Right. So
I think I'm on
are they
episode
are they
4.
are they taking it down? Or are they just not making new seasons?
I think they're not making new seasons.
Oh, okay.
I
So
think it's, yeah,
I
you
can
can
still
still
see it.
catch up on whatever you did not
Right.
watch so far, but still. And I
Mhm.
won't tell you where it ended. I mean, I don't know if you already know, but where it
Mhm.
already ended is, yeah, it's disrespectful to say the least.
Oh, wait, that must have ended with the Celtics winning. I think
That's what I heard. So
that's
I'm
you
like,
can't
eh.
end that like
That's
that.
what I was like. We couldn't even get one more episode. We
Yeah.
couldn't.
I mean, you can that's not really a spoiler alert. It happened like, you
I
know,
mean, I know, but I
yeah,
just not
I
not
get
a spoiler about the history, but just that's where it
where
ended. So,
there's ain't
hmm
that some ugh, and I know them old raggedy ass Boston fans will love that. Um, so I'm gonna jump down to something else that I said I just was gonna mention. In other news, young Jeezy is getting divorced.
yeah, filed in papers.
I really want to be on some Forrest Gump and like, and that's all I have to say about that.
I mean, this is probably all we can say because we don't know necessarily
Right.
why or what. I mean, the last time we saw them, or last time I saw them, let me speak for me, everything seemed to be hunky dory. So they had,
Mhm.
had the little baby. He wrote a book. The little baby's on, social media, like my daddy, and so I
Mhm.
thought it was great.
I know it was a lot of hoopla and people going in like how loyal she is, and get you an Asian woman, or Asian women are
Mm-hmm.
loyal in a way that black women, wouldn't, like all of that divisive stuff that you see. I actually think I saw something like that today that somebody reposted. Um, but then I saw like they were splitting about something. I don't know, just like differences in beliefs or something like that, as far as like in the marriage or whatever. Could have been,
Mm-hmm.
you know, cultural, or whatever else. But it's going around. A lot of people are breaking up. I'm seeing Tiana Taylor and Iman Shumpert are reportedly
Mm-hmm.
separated. Um,
Yeah.
when everybody was looking at them, couple goals, couple goals.
Yeah, they made it to 2 years, Aaron. Jeezy and Jeannie.
Yeah, so 2 years. But it happens, and I just pray to God when it's my turn that, you know,
Yeah.
all the front load a lot of the work and know what you're getting into. And I think I'm pretty good at that anyway, which is why I haven't done it yet. Um, Maybe to a fault. but
Okay.
grand opening and grand closing.
No, here's the one. Here's the one.
I mean, and listen, y'all. Okay, can we keep it 100 real quick? Can we keep it 100? I care that people get divorced, but
It's breakup season.
we
I thought
all
it was supposed to be cuffing season. We're going into the cool weather, or
yeah.
not yet.
Well, it's closer to December. Cuffing season is like
Okay.
December. Cuffing season is December through February.
I've been cuffed for a long time, so
Hmm.
I don't even know. I'm out the draft.
Actually, no. You're supposed to. Well, for dudes, you're supposed to cut them off before Christmas and pick them back up after Valentine's Day.
Yeah, I was like, oh, okay.
You
Wow.
know. Yeah.
Mercury's out of retrograde. It's a lot going on. And it's, you know, we don't know these people in real life, of course. So, we don't have that kind of feeling like, well, I won't say we don't. Some people do. Just the
Mhm.
institution of marriage. And I will say, like, being on this side, I feel differently than I felt when I was single. Like to, hear people breaking up or separating or whatever, it didn't really touch me in any particular way.
Mhm.
But, being all in with somebody and, really taking your vows seriously and living life with them and taking on their stuff and having them to put your stuff on and then thinking about dissolving that is one thing, but also thinking about like what leads to the dissolution of, right? Like, because you
Right.
don't just wake up and go, we're divorced. It
Mhm.
starts turning at some point, and some people live in that misery for a long time, and
Mhm.
then, right? And so, just thinking about that, that's kind of what makes me sad that at one point you're standing, whether it's a judge, it's a minister, it's a whoever, you're standing there and you're reciting vows and you're doing all the things. And then
Mhm.
one day you like,
Yeah. I had a scary thought a couple of days ago, and I don't think it's the first time that I've had this thought. But why? Yes, yes, I do know the rules.
he
um,
getting ready. He getting ready.
we'll talk about when to cut
Okay.
them off, when to pick them up, like the single. I know the single rules,
Hmm.
but here's a scary thought. Like, imagine how many people don't get the opportunity to experience or be in love because they don't know what it looks like, right? Like you've never been loved, let alone loved properly. And
Hmm.
so I really think when you get on social media, you see all these rules and anecdotes and don't let a man and if a woman is doing and all this nonsense, it's all
Right.
bullshit, right? Coming from a whole lot of people who have never loved, let alone been loved. And if you've never been loved, then how can you possibly love? You can give your interpretation or perception of love, right? But it's like I think you start off, have you ever seen love? Right?
Hmm.
And yeah, so the idea, yeah, people like the idea of marriage or wanting to be with somebody, but actually being in it is crazy, is yeah, I don't feel like being married with
Yeah.
feelings are constantly being
Yeah.
contradicted.
And it's like just drop it and go on about your business,
Yeah.
And I respect everybody's right to do whatever they want, but I appreciate as I've kind of read through some of these comments and posts that there are people who are encouraging couples, celebrities, and sometimes it's just regular people. I've seen these posts about just everyday folks and friends and whatnot, that there are people who are encouraging them to uh, fight. And when I say fight, of course, because there's always going to be somebody, what if it's abusive? I'm not telling you to stay nowhere and get your butt kicked. That's not what I'm talking about. We're talking about when things are inconvenient and you choose to just be out,
Mm-hmm.
right? Is there a possibility for us to have better communication, for us to go to counseling, for us to work at this together, for me to change, for you to change, for us to meet in the middle? Have you done everything that you can do before calling it quits?
Right. And I think a lot of times, and it's just like even before marriage, if you aren't doing what someone wants you to do, that's typically really what it is. You're not behaving in a way that they want you to so that they feel better because we assume that that's what should be happening, right? And I respect. One, I love Michelle Obama, and I heard her talking one time. I was like, we were talking about happiness. It's like, who? Nobody said you was gonna be happy in a marriage all the time. You know, in a
Right.
relationship. Like, who said that? And um, I
And
read
I'm
a
not responsible for your happiness
right. I
either.
mean, well, I think happiness is a big lie, right? So no,
Dang.
and I'm serious. Like, so I just got to read this book a little while ago. The Subtle Art of Not Giving a F,
Oh
right?
yeah. Mm-hmm.
And for those who haven't read it, read it. But it's talking about how the pursuit of happiness is actually negative, and accepting the negative is actually positive, right? Now, when you think about happy, it's like, one, how do you define happiness? Because people often define happiness by the acquisition of something.
Mm-hmm.
When I get this, when I achieve this, when I get there, when this is over, when it's always a win, right? And so when we look at our life right now, the majority of us are in this place. A lot of us are in the place where we were praying for, let's say 10 years ago. 10 years ago,
Yeah.
we were praying to be in this place that we are now, right? And we're not even recognizing it, right? And so now we're where we thought happiness was going to be, and now we're talking about we'll be happy when the next thing.
Something else.
And
Yeah.
so no matter what you get, it's always something else. So happiness is always going to be elusive because you're predicating it on the acquisition of a place
It's
or a
something.
time or a thing
Mm-hmm.
or whatever, instead of gratitude and, like, I'm here, I'm healthy, my relationships, blah 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 blah. You know what I mean? And so you gotta, you just have to be happy, right?
Be
But
happy.
just be happy. Now, that doesn't mean don't grind and pursue the life that you want. You know, yeah, we want leisure, we want comfort, we want wealth. Okay, cool. But don't forsake what you've already been given, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, because because you'll never get it. And the majority of people, and I saw this other little video how we talk about luxury is a lie, right?
Mm-hmm.
Luxury is actually for poor people, because
Mm.
they create these shiny things, you know, the trips, the cars, the shiny things for poor people to try to get, right? Because people that can actually to afford those things comfortably typically don't buy them. The wealthy don't waste their money on
Right.
things,
That's so true. That's
right?
so true.
So, because poor people, broke people are always trying to look wealthy or have a taste of what luxury looks like, right? And even if you
Mm.
look at social media, people that can't afford what the wealthy can afford always post themselves in something shiny or on some vacation or something like that, right?
Right.
And then wealthy people we always see working, right? We see the wealthy working and the not wealthy chilling.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
trip, soft era, blah, blah.
Come on, Star.
You know, all these different things. And so we romanticize a life that, um a lot of times, exactly, a lot of people can't define how we, like, if someone said what is happiness, oh, you know, like,
Mm-hmm.
look inward. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
You know, like, who
Absolutely.
are you?
Who are you? Well, definitely, good luck to all parties involved and folks that are
Yeah.
going through what they're going through.
K Sarah
So,
Sarah.
indeed. So, I feel like every week we're going to have this kind of segment. I just felt like
You gonna, yeah, you gonna put your glasses on.
I needed to be prepared. I need to be
I can't put
prepared.
my shades on because I
Yeah.
won't be able to
Mm.
see. But yeah,
I mean, the young boy is
yeah.
pretty phenomenal. I was traveling this weekend, so I was
Mhm,
away, and I was up till 2 in the morning. Oh, I was in your state. I was in
mhm.
your time zone, watching football till 2 in the morning. I was
Yeah,
like, "Who am I right now?"
yeah, yeah.
But
What?
deservedly
So
so.
right. So shout out to Coach Prime once again. In the game that actually should have won in a more dominating fashion, but it turned out to be an extremely exciting game, rivalry
Yes.
game. So shout out to University of Colorado, for going 3-0 against Colorado State. Um, it was personal, so Coach Norvell for Colorado State University made a statement saying that he takes his hat and shades off when he speaks to grown-ups because that's how his mama raised him.
Mm.
And just Prime is such a genius. Like the man is a marketing genius because he'll
Yeah.
turn one. He doesn't talk about anybody. People keep taking shots at
They
him,
come, yeah.
and he keeps
Yep.
taking them shots, pouring them in a glass, and drinking them in front. You see what I'm saying?
And making money.
And making money. You just made that man $1 million in one day with that statement because he owns a brand of glasses and shades that sold over $1 million in a day. Then he brought out his mama saying so, for the pregame speech, came out, won a very dirty game. Colorado State was playing extremely
Yeah.
dirty.
That
And
was awful to watch. It
shout out
was.
to Travis Hunter, who reportedly is suffering from a lacerated liver from a cheap shot after a play from
Sheesh.
one of the players who should have been ejected from the game. You know,
Absolutely.
and on every commercial, the man got a commercial about almonds.
I did see the KFC commercial this time.
Yeah,
I did, yeah.
okay. So he got Aflac, KFC, almonds, um, like yeah. During his come on.
Yeah.
And not only that, the pregame, so college game day was shot at University of Colorado this
Yeah.
week.
That was a long day for them.
Yeah,
They
so they
was
had
going.
so they did college game day on ESPN. They had all the celebs there. The Rock was there on the show. Then
Hmm.
they had Lil Wayne perform,
It was
and it was
it
it
was
was
a
just
lot.
crazy. And so a friend of mine, one of my cats that I went to school with, he's kind of talking like, why they got to do all of this? It should just be about football, blah blah blah. And I'm like, you missing out on. Imagine being a student at the University of Colorado in this time, in this era, right?
Man.
And you on the yard on this day. You got it's just bananas this day, and then Lil Wayne comes out and is randomly doing a concert, and you got
Right.
tickets to the game, like
It's look.
and then you have that kind of game, you win it in double overtime, and I'm gonna be out. Okay, I'm gonna tell the truth, y'all. I'm gonna tell the truth.
Oh, you tell them what everybody else felt. You
No, no,
you
no, no,
you're
no.
not
It's something else.
alone.
I did
Oh,
something
okay.
else. I am a very emotional. So I'm not any people. Y'all know I'm not an emotional person, right? In general, but I'm super emotional when it comes to sports, as
What'd you
you
do? Go to
know
bed?
from last week, right? So if my team is, I can't watch my team lose.
You went to sleep.
I didn't go. No, no, no. I didn't go to sleep. I didn't go to sleep.
Oh, okay.
So, like, if the Lakers are playing, it's the fourth quarter. It's like a few minutes in the fourth quarter. I can't watch the game end when they lose because I'm just in a bad mood, right? So when Colorado State scored that last touchdown, I was like, ah, man, come on. So I'm heated. I don't want to see Colorado lose. Not to them anyway. I know they got tougher games coming up. I didn't want to see them lose. So I turned the channel, right? And I'll check the score. So probably in Charles Norville displayed his own book dance mentality with Master. Okay, I don't know if I'll go that far, but all right. I mean, you know. Um, so I turned the channel and then I checked the score and saw that they was marching. And I'm like, oh shit. So I turned it back on and then I caught,
Mhm.
the rest of the game. And I'm in there cussing and yelling at the TV like I've been a fan for years.
Yeah, I was screaming. Tiffany's here, so we were texting, or we were on Facebook.
Mhm.
So I put a post up, but like everybody had gone to sleep because they felt like this is over, and I was like, no, I'm gonna watch this. And like the closer they got, I just kept feeling like you did not come all the way this far to let it go.
Uh-huh.
Like once they tied it up, and once I was like, just take it on home. And so the 2 point conversion, and getting that last touchdown, and then for Colorado State, of course, to not get this throw incomplete pass, I was screaming. I was in a
Mhm.
hotel too, so I know the people were like, "What is going on over there at this
So
time?" But
when they
it
play
was.
SC, are you going to be even remotely kind of like you just want a great game, or it's just f that fight on Trojans? I want.
I mean, it's always fight on. No, it is
Mhm.
always fight on. And I was just gonna say, like, or ask like what you thought over the next couple of weeks, because of course they have Oregon next,
Mm-hmm.
where they're not expected to win. I mean, they haven't really been expected to win anything. So,
Mm-hmm.
but definitely now folks are like, okay, that was cool, but now you're getting to it. And so yes, I'm always SC, but I do want it to be a good game. I don't want it to be a blowout on any
Mm-hmm.
side. And I wouldn't be upset. Let's just say that. I wouldn't be upset either way, but I'm
Right.
always pulling for the
I
Trojans.
think it's just. I think that over the next couple of weeks, it's going to be a great story either way, right? So at this point, he's playing with house. They're playing with house money. Period.
Mm-hmm.
Right. They weren't expected to beat TCU. They were underdogs after week one for Nebraska as well. Right. Colorado State, they were supposed to beat them. Now they're underdogs against Oregon, and I think everyone's like, "Oh, Oregon's gonna blow them out," and by everything on paper, Oregon's about to handle business, right? However, if you look at this game and put Colorado in the seat of Colorado State, right? They were supposed to blow out Colorado State, right? Colorado State been getting blown out all season so far, and that
Mm-hmm.
was the one win last year that Colorado had was against Colorado State, right?
Yeah.
But they came out in this rivalry game and they competed, you know, when nobody else thought they would, and that can be this game. Like they came out and they competed against TCU. They competed and won against Nebraska. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
so it's a true David and Goliath. And we can look at paper and the odds and Vegas all we want, but the game still has to be played, right?
Yeah.
I think no matter what, we're still hoping for a brighter future. Like we couldn't be more proud now. They are very small up front, so when they start playing some of these other teams with these big boys up front, that's where the game is won and lost. We know that, and so I think they're playing for recruiting right now. So what they have to do is play with heart and have a good showing so that they can build their future and get those recruits and win in the transfer portal. And I think they already going to do that. Like
Mm-hmm.
these kids out here want to come play for Coach Prime, and I think
Yeah.
he's going to be able to recruit better than Nick Saban has because Alabama's declining. Georgia's running things right now, so I think it's going to be a huge massive chat. I think Shador's going to have to show up. I think he's real cool, but he's going up against two of the top quarterbacks. I think probably 1 and 2 or 1 and 3. So Caleb Williams is
Mm-hmm.
Heisman Trophy winner, of course. So he's coming out balling. And Bo Nix is top 5 as well. I think the last rankings I saw has Shador at like 4 or something like that.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
so he's gonna come. He's got to show out. They're gonna be missing Travis Hunter, but we're gonna see. I
We're
want it.
gonna see.
Yeah, I want it to be fun. I want them to compete. I definitely want them to beat Oregon. I want them to compete against SC. I'm not gonna be mad either way because I'm damn near an honorary Trojan. It's funny how many people think people was like, didn't you go to SC? And my motto, no, I used to go up to SC.
Up to SC. That's hilarious. That's
I
hilarious.
did
Well,
go there
I
for the
look
summer.
okay. Shout out to the summer.
Yeah.
I look forward to us week to week throughout the
Uh-huh.
season. Just
Yeah. And
checking in,
we'll check
we're
in with
checking
y'all.
in. Yeah, we're checking in. Shout out
All
to
right,
Prime
y'all.
and the whole Sanders family.
So I don't know how we're gonna get through this next segment. We may be cool. Let's put up our
Oh
trigger.
yeah, sorry. Yeah, thanks for the reminder before.
So for
So yes, again, go ahead. You want to take
Yeah,
this time?
so this is a trigger warning, y'all, for what we're about to talk about. We're going to this next segment. We're going to be talking about Kirk Franklin's new documentary, Father's Day. It's a very emotional piece. So, if you haven't seen it already, or even if you have seen it, what we're going to talk about if you are suffering from any trauma, family trauma, specifically from your father, if you've not grown up with your father, if experienced any of these things, if were adopted, if your story, if you know Kirk Franklin's story and yours mirrors that in any way, we're just giving you a heads up that this might trigger something in you. So please, we understand if you have to log off the show now. We do understand, but we want you to take care of you. So this isn't about the views and all that other stuff. So, and we'll kind of repeat this as well, but just please be mindful and handle whatever you can handle. Okay.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
so yeah, we've it's been up and down the timeline. Kirk Franklin's story in his new documentary Father's Day, and people were talking about how it was a powerful piece, and a lot of people were talking about how they were sitting there crying. And I've, we've I've seen stuff from people talking about they were crying before, but we knew we wanted to talk about it on the show.
Hmm.
So we were kind of talking back and forth, like, had you seen it? Had you seen it? I hadn't seen it yet. And so Dre hit me and had I seen it for tonight's show? And I was like, I haven't seen it yet. I'm just pulling up home. I'm gonna go in, fix something to eat, and watch it so we can unpack it on the show. And I should have watched it way earlier. Um, so the story, well, you know what, Kirk's story. Let's just start with his story, and then we can get into the documentary.
Yeah. So, for those of you who don't know, Kirk Franklin was born actually under another name. He was born as Kirk Smith. His mother had him, and by the age of 4, he was adopted by a distant relative. Now, I remember when he came out, it was like, oh, this is his grandmother or something like that. So I'm not sure if she was like a great grandmother, grandmother, great aunt, something like that. But he called her a distant relative in this particular documentary. But he's 4 years old. At the time, I believe she was 64 years old. So, just imagine a senior trying to take care of and care for this little boy, which, I can't even imagine how she felt, how he felt. We know that he experienced homelessness at a point in time, and I'm assuming this is as he got older, living out of the car situation, hungry. But the one thing that he always maintained was that, there was this piano in the house, and she did whatever she could to really support him learning how to play. Unfortunately, she didn't live long enough to see him become, Kirk Franklin, but she planted those seeds. Now, the part that I did not know, when you think about someone being adopted, generally it's because their parents have given them up, they've passed away, but like they're gone, right? Like the parents are no longer in the picture, and now the child is with the adopted parents or family. Well, in this instance, apparently his mother continued to be in his orbit throughout his whole life. So imagine, you are a small child, you see the person that you belong to, but they don't come and get you. You can't go with them, you can't be with them. And so he talked about what that felt like. Well, the documentary was not necessarily about what happened. The documentary was actually to chronicle the behind the scenes of the recording of his new album. So he's actually, there's singers and he's given direction and producing and doing all of this. And one of the singers is someone that he's known, he said, for, almost her whole life since she was small. And she tells him, hey, there's a funeral at my church. His biological aunt had passed. And he said he knew. So again, these people are in your circle, right? Or in your orbit. And he said he didn't go to the funeral because he didn't want to run into his biological mom and had not seen her in over 20 something years. While at that funeral, there's a man there who says, hey, I used to date Deborah, which is the biological mom. That she brings back to Kirk, like, somebody saying that, they used to date your mom. And we're looking at him, his height, his hands, facial features, and that family, and probably, that circle of folks start talking, is buzzing, to the point where the biological mother calls and is like, hey, what's up? I heard this rumor. If you want to talk about it, give me a call. Fast forward, the gentleman takes a DNA test. So he must have felt some kind of way as well. takes a DNA test, sends it to Kirk through the friend. Like, here, this is, if he wants to know, this is for him to be sure of or not. But here's my part. He takes the DNA test. Those of us that follow Kirk Franklin on social media, this is the clip we saw where the doctor calls and says the paternity is 99.99999%. And so everybody goes up on social media because we don't have any of this other context, like who's having a baby, right? And so, of course, people are quick, like, I know he ain't cheating on Tammy. And it just,
that's always the
it went a whole different direction. It went a whole different direction. The people was upset.
oh.
I can't believe it. I've been melodies from heaven all these years. You gonna have an outside baby? Like they were not. But in the context of this documentary, we find that he's the child. Okay, not that he.
I did not. I'm sorry.
That's okay. That's
okay. All right.
oh, okay. Lord. So he finds out that, you know, his dad. It's not just that he finds his dad, right? But it's super shocking to him because his mother had told him that there was someone else that was his dad. And that man has died already. So he had already gone through the emotions of, you know, expressing himself to this man, forgiving him and burying him. And now it's like, wait, that wasn't him? Who's this? Mm-hmm. And so he is in a state of disbelief. He's hurt. He's crushed. It's a lot of things. He reaches out to the biological mom. You know, we need to sit down and talk. He goes and shares the results with the biological dad. And, you know, he's open. Everybody's crying. They're hugging. He's like, you know, I didn't know. If I knew, I would have came after you. Now, I have certain things I want to say about that. But let's get to the end of the story, which is he sits down with the biological mom and says, here are the results as well. And sis is like, that can't be.
That ain't true.
I put that on my dead mama. That ain't true. That's exactly what she said. I put that on my mama grave. That can't be it. So Kirk says, okay, let's run it back. Because yeah, this man took the test all on his own and, you know, nobody saw it. Now, the bottom line is the results were still what they were. So his daddy ain't dead.
Somebody know who his daddy is because they didn't send the daddy DNA.
Hello. So they all go to the doctor because she wants to be present. And then it comes out the same. Girl, I might as well do that. So while trying to get in touch with his mother, he calls his mother's, I'm going to just say his mother's sister, which is how he was even addressing her, like, you know, Sandra. And she was like, who you calling? And I was like, dang, she going to act like she don't know it's him. Like, I didn't even catch what she was doing. But she wants to make sure he calls her Aunt Sandra or Aunt Sandra. I said, excuse me? Like, if you was any kind of auntie and you know your nephew, anywho. So, I mean, we'll have time to dig in that. But the bottom line is, you know, the second set of results came back the same. The biological mother still refused to accept it. And so then, you know, we find out that they haven't spoken since then. A deeper layer was then Kirk went to visit his oldest son, which again, those of us who kind of keep up with things or you're on social media, you know that they have had a couple of falling outs. And the son recorded some conversations where Kirk was getting after him and put it out there. And so they met. He shared the information about the grandfather at this point, broke the son down. They had a moment. And so from what we are to understand, they are reconciling as well. So, yeah, that's the story. Mm-hmm. Lots of emotions that flowed through there. And, you know, just thinking about Kirk Franklin, his ministry, and the songs that he's written and produced, and how they have been life changing for so many of us and have gotten some of us out of some of these types of situations emotionally and spiritually. Um, he's been broken for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
For a long time.
Yeah.
Even, when he was going through the backlash from the porn addiction and all the different things that were coming out during that time, it's just like looking back, like, wow, he was still able to even make it to be 50 some odd years old,
Mm-hmm.
with this kind of weighing on you every day. And
Mm-hmm.
to his point, generally, if your parents abandon you or if they pass away and they're gone, over time, there's some healing that occurs. But this kind of situation, this woman was just there, but not there his
Mm-hmm.
whole life. And even now, with this situation being what it is, science being what it is, she still won't even give him the
Right.
my bad.
And the thing is, this is what pissed me off the most about that whole scene, right? One, I couldn't stand Alessandra from when she first was introduced,
I was like,
right?
snatch her up.
But
Mm-hmm.
but even but the mama even trumped her because you
Yeah.
had Aunt Sandra um even talking about like, girl, he just wants to know the truth. Like she's like, come on, you did.
Right. Even Alessandra was like,
Even
let's
Alessandra was
get it
like,
together. That
and so
yeah.
when what's the mama name? Dorothy something, Deborah.
Deborah.
She's sitting there crying. I wanted this. She made it about her.
Her. Mm-hmm.
So don't sit here crying, talk about what you want when you had this boy in front of you his whole life. You gave birth to him. You gave him up. You walked away from him and then saw him twice after. I don't know what your circumstances was, whatever, but that was still your child.
Mm-hmm.
And you had a choice. You had a choice to tell him the truth. You knew who that daddy was.
Cause she's like, oh, there's no way. And I'm thinking
And
like,
then
so
when this
y'all
and
didn't get
then when the
down
dude like
or
you she didn't want it to be him. I respect Rick for one when he found out because they're sitting there talking, he was like, I had no idea there was even a possibility, right? What made me believe him is when Kirk broke out the results. And the first thing he said when he could gather himself, because he starts crying, I'm sorry.
mm-hmm.
Like it would he didn't go into excuse mode. Well, your mama didn't. He never even said nothing about the mama that I can recall. Oh, because your mama, she was da da da. Like, nah, I had no idea. When he found out, all he said was, I'm sorry. And had I known, I would have I would have been there. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
yeah.
And I really believe that was because he didn't know that he was about to find out what he found out.
Mm-hmm.
He knew that there was a possibility when he sent his DNA, but I think he probably even sent the DNA is like, man, all this chatter here, you need to put it to rest, right?
Right, right.
The next thing that I respected about Rick is everything he said and did was for Kirk to do this his way and at his pace. He
Yes. I
forced
did respect that.
nothing.
I
He
did.
didn't
I
force
did respect that.
anything. He was like, my door is open when you're ready.
Mm-hmm.
Whomever you want to bring when you're ready, they are welcome.
And he said,
Right.
you're the most important part of this whole
This is
equation. He
right. This ain't
started that
yeah.
way.
This ain't
Mm-hmm.
about me. This ain't about her. This is about you because
Yeah,
the grown folks had options, right? In this case, yeah, he's 53, but he's still the child in this scenario,
absolutely. Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And so he was. I don't know if he has other children that he raised, but he presented real fatherly to me,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And I had nothing but respect for the way he conducted himself. He never even addressed Deborah. Like it wasn't no
No.
back and forth. He never said
Mm-mm.
anything. Um, and so when I see the comments about like he wasn't dumb, so I'm not like judging by how Deborah acted, like how could he have known? Like, cause she
Mm-hmm.
she ain't even want him to be the dad. Like, did she say something to like even if I feel like even if he thought and he called her about it, by her reaction, she wouldn't have told him the truth, you know.
Yeah. And I feel like Ursula, and I think Callie Bell said it too. It was hard for me. I was trying not to be judgy,
Hmm.
but just deducing like the facts that were given and presented to us. This is a small town, right? And I've
Hmm.
never lived in a small town, but I'm just thinking about the communities I've been a part of, or your church community, your school community, your actual community, and just wondering like, yeah, you saw somebody pregnant around about the time that you was messing with them, and it's not like, oh, I went to the army, I went away to college. Like, as far as we are to understand, he's been there um for the whole time. And so it's just interesting. No, I don't think like this lady this lady lied to her kid's face a whole lot of times. So I don't
Hmm.
think that she would have given this man the satisfaction. But I'm just wondering, and he was compelled now to do it. I'm just wondering what compelled you to do it now
What,
and
the DNA?
never before. Yeah.
Well, because the chatter was after. So in the documentary, they were talking about after the funeral, people around town were talking about it. Like, oh,
Yeah,
this
but I'd
could
be
be.
like, that ain't my kid. I mean, I'm just saying, like, what makes you now be like,
Well,
was he looking at him like, oh, maybe he could be?
I think maybe let's put the chatter to rest. Like, I'm hearing my name out there. Da 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 da. You know, this is one. This is a big star. You know, so
Mm-hmm.
here, you know, if you need to know, like, I'm sure you're hearing the same things I'm hearing. So here, he didn't call him. He's like, this is for you, so that you can be at peace. I'm at peace about it. I don't like.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably like I don't think it's me, so I'm at peace about it. Swap, swap, swap. Here you go. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? And so I think even the way he was sitting before he got the results, it was like, I don't remember. I don't know. I don't, you know. And so actually,
Now that part was I just like you don't well, it was 50 some years ago and I haven't lived that long, so maybe some things start getting fuzzy, but I feel like something like that, you remembered you dated her. I'm
yeah,
assuming you remembered you had sex with her,
I'm gonna be
but you
honest.
don't.
I'm
Uh-oh.
not as old as him. I've forgotten some things, right? Not who I've had sex with, but
Okay, I was
I've
like, that's not
I've
some things. That's
no,
the
but
thing.
there's some people that have forgotten that, right? Like
Clearly, this is what he's
I
saying.
I might have had some encounters like that. I'm fuzzy on the details of what happened, and I'll be honest, like I know who I've slept with because I track who I sleep with.
I
So
just think, and I don't think it's not a question of him forgetting that he slept with her because clearly he didn't. But I do agree that you know because it hasn't come up, like maybe at the point in time he can't remember, so who knows? Let's just infer
mhm,
that he might have caught wind that she was pregnant or saw that she was pregnant, but it never came his way, and so it
mhm.
was just like, oh shit, must not be I must not be involved. And
And
now, yeah, 50
she
some
ain't
odd
said nothing.
years. Right, right. 50
Mhm.
some odd years passed by. And now, folks talking about he looked like me.
I mean, because let's keep it 100. Certain women that have certain reputations, when you see them pregnant, you are not about to go up there. Is this mine?
No, I agree there. I agree.
and we
I
know,
agree.
a couple like that. you
Yeah.
know.
So
So
I mean, and again, it's not a blame. I'm just trying to
yeah.
pull all the pieces together. But the person and people that I am upset with is Deborah and Aunt Sandra, since she wants to be
Mhm,
Aunt
mhm.
Sandra, because if you feel that enough respect is due you to have this title, like you couldn't have made sure that
Right,
he had something.
right.
Like that's just crazy to me.
Yeah.
That was
And
very hard to watch and then watch how they acted about it. Like I didn't
mhm,
feel any kind of like shame or remorse or like, I
mhm,
you know what? I'll even stand for the good old I was a kid and I didn't know what I was doing myself.
mhm.
It was just none of that.
Right.
It was none of that.
Right.
And it was heartbreaking to watch him try to navigate walking in his relationship with God. Like you could tell it was like, Lord,
Mm-hmm.
give me
Yeah.
give me what I need to get around this,
Right.
because what I really want to do, especially
Exactly.
because he's powerful now, right? He
Mhm.
has the money, he has the influence, he has
Mhm.
the fame, he could squash them all.
Right.
And he was still having a moment of
He was
being
being
a little boy.
human. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so here's the thing, like a lot of people were talking about his crying, and I was like, I dropped a couple. I think the first time I started, I shed tears when he found out he's on the phone, and it's like, you know, 99.9%. He's like, what? You know,
Yeah.
so like, what must that feel like, right? And then when he went, I lost it when he went to Rick's house and when he gave him the results. So it was kind of, I was tearing up a little when he was kind of like sharing in his experience and like he's just asking the questions, right? He hadn't told him it was what the results are. But when Rick started crying
Oh
and
yeah.
apologizing, I'm like, I was done,
Yeah.
right?
It was
And so
very
it's
emotional moment.
like man, and so like Kirk doesn't know how to feel. He's like, I want to hug you. I apologize if it's not the best hug. Um, Watching him try to produce this album and channel that pain into this project, and he's crying like at the studio. Watching him, reconcile with his son. His son is already there, angry. He's like, I don't even you about to tell me something. I don't even know what it is, and it already hurts. Cause like
Hmm.
I like, and that was like, I only expect pain from you.
Yeah.
Like that's what that relationship was like. And then when he got that news, he broke down, and then the reconciliation and just that scene with him sitting on the floor, like they're both sitting on the floor, and he like hugs his son. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so it put me in this place to where I'm somebody, I've experienced a lot in my life, but one thing I cannot and can't even fathom relating to is not having a father, right? My daddy's been there my entire life, and people trip like with me being this age. I still, yeah, when he did the part singing the song, I gotta hear that song when it's done too. But like my daddy has been there my whole life, and people be like, "Yo, daddy, like you a grown man." I still say, yes, I say daddy. That is my daddy. Period. Since I was a little boy, he's been daddy, right?
Hmm.
And but that speaks to the relationship. And so after I watched, I mean, I called my dad just to tell him I love him, I appreciate
Hmm.
him. Um,
Oh, we love you, Pop. Yeah.
and I thought I got it out. But just the power of having a father present. That's all I know. And no matter what I've been through, my dad was always present,
Oh man.
right? Like he's been my constant. I can call about anything. And so I just had to thank him.
Mm.
I don't think anyone really knows how much that man means to me. And the thought of ever losing him, and I know, and I told him I know this life ain't forever.
Yeah.
Um, and I know that I don't want to think about that day, but until that day comes, I want to experience every experience I can with having a father and the work that I do with kids and everything else. My approach to it is giving them what I've had my entire life, like
Man.
what it's like to have a father, you know, to experience that love. And I don't have that relationship where we shake hands and this old tough guy. You like we're very black and white. It's we're still men's men, but also my father, because I wasn't raised with my mother. My mother's in my life, but I wasn't raised with her. So my father had to learn how to be the nurturer,
Hmm.
So he learned how to, we learned together. He's got this little 6-year-old boy who still needs hugs, who still needs his back rubbed when he's sick, who still cries when he gets hurt. It's not, it
Mm.
was never, oh, like, you know, and so he learned that. So to this day, he still hugs and kisses me, my brother and I, like, we're his sons. And that's all he ever wanted to be, was a father. And he always wanted sons, and God blessed him with that.
Mm.
And God blessed my brother and I with an amazing father. And so I don't, he's one of the few things that I do get emotional about,
Yeah.
because I don't I don't even want to know what that's like. Like, there's literally people in this world that are going around without a daddy. And I'm
Yeah.
like, damn,
Yeah.
real. And I hurt for them. You know what I mean? Because it's like, what's it like? I never stop talking about my dad. Everybody, oh, you always, like, people have never met my dad and love my dad.
Hmm.
And if, for those who don't know, this is my daddy right here.
There's that. Yeah.
He watches the show, he chimes in and everything else. But like, there's a lot of people that have a relationship distantly with my father through the way that I talk about him and share stories, and the way we interact on social media, or even the show and everything else. Because, and it's not contrived or fake. This has been our relationship our whole life. He's not just my
Yeah.
dad, he's my best friend along with my brother. And so it's just been an amazing experience, because what I've been through in life, we've been through together, you know. And I tell people all the time, people that don't get me, and I'm like, just, if you ever meet my daddy, the first thing you're like, oh, okay, I get it.
Mm.
I make more sense when they meet my father, for better or for worse. He's not a perfect man, right? But for for all his faults, that's still my daddy. And it just, people aren't perfect, and he's grown and he's learned over the years. And um I just I want nothing more than to make him proud with my life and the work that I do. And I know he's proud of me, but I still, it took me years to start living my own life, because all I ever wanted was to make my daddy proud.
Yeah.
So that's
Woo.
my emotional moment for the year, y'all. But, and I knew,
Y'all have, yeah, they going up in the chat. They going up in the chat for
yeah.
you.
But
And
that's why it was hard for
for
me to
Bob.
watch, because that's just what I was like. Like, Kirk is 53, and you could have had what I've had my whole life, and it was taken. It wasn't even he missed; it was taken from him.
Yeah.
And so it's like my heart broke for him. You know what I mean? I'm like, that's just cold, you know. So
Yeah.
I am
I,
glad that he's got that. He can kind of put a bow on not knowing, but there's so much, you can't get 53 years back.
you absolutely can't get 53 years back. And while I felt that gut wrenching heartbreak, I did rejoice in the fact that what he thought was lost, meaning that man that was in the ground, that it wasn't lost. You
Right.
know, that his dad is actually still living and breathing. And you can't tell everybody's story by looking at them, but he wasn't confined to a hospital. He wasn't dragging around an oxygen tank. Like, it looks like they have the time to create some kind of relationship. And at the end of watching all of that, that gave me an immense joy for him, because,
Mm-hmm.
like I said, he has given so much of himself and his vulnerability to the world through his ministry, like doing what God asked him to do in the midst of carrying this, and then trying to, oh my God, because this is how I feel for people who then go on and have children, to become or try to become what you never had.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and even though one relationship was strained, we often see him with his youngest son in
Mm-hmm.
the same way that you actually saw him with Carrie on, like very nurturing. He flies all over the place to go and see all his kids.
Mm-hmm.
Um, And so just even thinking about the fact that he was able to pull that out of somewhere,
Mm-hmm.
even though he never had it. And so, my prayer is like that God
Mm-hmm.
gives them the time and helps to heal some of those wounds and voids for both of them.
Mm-hmm.
Because I can't also imagine having a part of you out in the world that you don't know anything about. And then when you connect, they grown,
Yeah.
and grown and grown and grown. And
Yeah.
you're like, oh, what do I do? Uh, how does he feel about me? Is he going to look at me like that? Am I going to be Mr. Rick forever? Am I ever going to be dad? How do I let me back up off of them, but not too far because I don't want them to
Mm-hmm.
think I'm leaving them. Like they both have so much to try to figure out. But I
Mm-hmm.
absolutely agree. I don't think there's anything more powerful than watching fathers and sons, men bonding in particular, even brothers. Like I love to see that because we don't often get those moments, and we talked about that because you guys keep it tucked, and so to see such an open display all the time, really, about your dad. I actually saw a post that he wrote maybe last week or over the weekend
Mm-hmm.
uh, about you getting in trouble with teachers. About talking about what he said, and I was busy, I was moving, but my comment was like, I think we've all heard
Mm-hmm.
right the gospel according to David Hannons through Jason Hannons. Like we get it all the time,
Mm-hmm.
but it's been good wisdom. Even I think when you guys disagree in the way that you still talk and debate and have a good time with each other, it's a wonderful model for fathers and sons everywhere. And as a daddy's girl, I absolutely
Mm-hmm.
love my dads. I grew up with two dads, and I've always thought about that there are people that don't even get one,
Mm-hmm.
and I got two. And I got two that were crazy about me. One is with the Lord now, and one is fighting an extremely hard battle. And, it's my honor and my pleasure to be there for him in the way that he's always been there for me. And so we have that in common to like not have a clue what it's like. Even though, my parents were divorced and remarried, I never didn't know where my dad was. For a moment, it was kind of like this. He was, 5 minutes away. And
Mm-hmm.
then even when he moved a little further, we had regular time that we talked on the phone until I had my visitations. You know, he paid child support, but
Mm-hmm.
also put money in my pocket. It was not like I don't know this man. He came to parent teacher conferences. He did his part,
Mm-hmm.
and he loved some Andrea. Both of them, but the one still living, loves Andrea. Even now, I went to go visit her. I was like, "Who's that?" That's my daughter.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, you know. Or he'll tell me that's my number one, as the oldest. And so, it's an honor to have that. But I really feel led, just like, with the trigger warning, to say to those of you who don't have a relationship with your dad, whether he passed away, whether he walked away, whether he didn't know that you existed, um, God is your father. And I know it's not the same because where's this earthly, person? I just want you to know, like, his love still covers you. It still surrounds you. You are still able to be blessed and live a blessed life. I know some folks who have uncles and godfathers and grandfathers, and it's not fair that you don't have the person that you came from directly. But I believe earnestly that nothing, no good thing is going to be withheld from you. Even for this man to go 53 years, there's an ending to this story, right? Like you said, that bow is now on that pain that he has been carrying, and so it may not always shake out the way that we want it to shake out. But I pray that no one leaves this live stream feeling the way about your situation that you felt when you got here. Know that you are covered in love. We are going to be covering you in prayer, so that you don't, you're not walking around with this gaping hole anymore. I pray for your healing of your heart from this day forward, whatever that looks like. For some of you, it is going to be reconciliation. For others, you might not get that with that person, but I pray that what's for you will find you, and you'll remember this moment when it does. All right.
That was a
Whew.
word and a word. So yeah, y'all. It's there's so much of your life left to be lived, and while you don't always have control over your circumstances and what happens. You only have control on how you respond. And there's so much in our heart that we have to learn to let go of to allow something in. Like your heart only has but so much capacity. And there's things that you have to release in order to allow other things in, right? Like healing, right? Healing can't Healing doesn't come and replace hate. You got to get rid of the hate and then begin the
Yeah.
healing process. They don't happen simultaneously, right? They don't exist simultaneously. Um, and so no, it's not when someone hurts you, it's not your fault that you're hurt, but it's your responsibility to heal,
Yeah.
right? Also, use it to fuel, not to burn down. This is things that I tell my kids all the time. The things that you go through in your life um, are like gasoline, right? And I tell them, you can take that substance and pour it all over the house, right? And light a match. It'll burn the house to the ground. It'll destroy. But you can put that same substance in the tank of a car and it'll take you anywhere you want to go.
Mm.
It all depends on how you decide to use it. Kirk has used that fuel and he put it in his car to become, right, what he's become. And yet and still he mentioned he still feels the most insecure in the room. 19 Grammys and he feels the most insecure in the room. The highest selling gospel artist of all time, and he still feels insecure in the room, right? No matter how he tries to change himself, he's been working out and doing this and blah blah blah, but he's still very human. And I do respect the fact that this documentary made him very very human. You saw
Mm-hmm.
very human emotions that gospel artists don't always show, right? They always show them gospel artists in a very positive, loving, forgiving. Like Kirk wasn't all that forgiving in this,
No.
right? You know, um,
No.
and rightfully so. Like, and he even says it. Like after that situation with his mom, he hasn't talked to her
You
since.
don't. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, he hadn't talked to his son until this moment for what 2 years. He hadn't like there was people he just wasn't fooling with. And I don't care if you out here singing the gospel and preaching, you still going through what
What you going
folks are
through?
going through. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? And you have human responses, just like when he was going through that storm when his son recorded that call and he was cussing up a storm. And my first thing was like, do Kirk look like he don't cuss?
He almost cussed
He
in the
almost cussed
doc.
on this. Like he was like, what the like
He
not
was on the
but he was
skirt.
over it, right? So I, as much as he could, he allowed us to see him. A
Mm-hmm.
lot of raw human emotions. Um, but yeah, I guess it wasn't in his best interest to cuss while in the making of a gospel album. If this isn't a gospel album, we assuming it is, but
Right.
um, yeah, it was a very moving piece. We said Kirk implies a twin.
Yeah. Somebody said they need to swap plies as well. Y'all know.
All
Y'all
right,
know.
Plies is a fool. Yeah, Plies is a whole fool. But
Mm-hmm.
y'all, there's not too many more directions we gonna take this. So I would
Oh
really want
yeah.
to put a put a bow on it.
Yeah, no, I think we've done it. I
Yeah.
said what I had to say, and so that
Yeah,
was my
yeah,
final
that
thought.
was that was that was beautiful. I'm going to my final thought is, Daddy, I love you and thank you. And we're gonna end it because I'm
Yes.
gonna before
Yeah.
I start going in again. But yeah,
Shout out to all the dads. And I thought, we were talking, but, he's really paying tribute to the dads in your lineage,
mhm,
that all of them have been there. And that's a blessing. We often hear about and talk about generational curses, but generational blessings exist as well. And that's one
mhm,
that we can see, and we can see the fruit of that, in you and your brother, and his children, your nieces and your niece and nephews.
mhm.
So it's a wonderful thing. So we celebrate the Hannon's family tree.
For sure, for sure. Shout out to all them Hennonses is out there. But
Yeah,
y'all, this has been uh an emotional episode of the Crossroads.
absolutely.
But necessary. We love y'all. We appreciate y'all for rocking with us. Thank y'all. Make sure you subscribe, scroll down, subscribe, share this channel, have your friends subscribe, share this
And
episode. Y'all,
here's
like, please
right.
share
Come
this
on.
episode with not just because it helps out the views, but to whomever might need to hear what we talked about tonight. Yes, sis, we are all human. And Kirk Franklin is dropping on October 6th, so I'm excited
We're
to
gonna have
hear
a
it. Right?
listening.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
I love
So
you.
love you too, Dad. So y'all, as always, in parting,
Wait,
remember
I'm
what.
sorry I had to throw that one up.
I can't, yeah,
The roadies
Deborah,
are hilarious.
yeah, Deborah and Sandra.
Yeah,
So
y'all.
yeah. Bye. I ain't
Okay,
even.
now.
We ain't even gonna tag. Bye.
Right. We
You
ain't
can
gonna
give
be
him.
free to be you.
You can give him a tagline.
Okay. Well, in parting, this is the Crossroads podcast. And remember, be free to be you. We'll
We'll
see you
see
next
y'all
week.
next week.
Bye.